Senator LeMieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Secretary Flournoy. General Petraeus, thank you for your service. Good to see you again. About a month ago, you were kind enough to host me and Senator Nelson at CENTCOM, and we talked about a variety of issues, and I want to kind of follow on what my colleague from Alabama was just discussing in talking about President Karzai. When we had that meeting, we talked about your confidence in President Karzai as a partner for our country in this effort to fight the Taliban and fight al-Qaeda. And these recent comments that President Karzai made in Kandahar are welcomed, but they follow his comments that were reported around the 10th of this month that he had lost faith in the U.S.'s ability to defeat the Taliban. And I wanted to get an update from you about your confidence level in our partnership and in his leadership in fighting this war.
Well, Senator, thanks, and great to see you again as well. And if I could just start off by saying that I think that the quote statement that he's lost faith in the U.S. is a newspaper account, not certainly a quote directly from him, and it was more a characterization from some second and third-hand sources, and it does not square, frankly, with what my contacts with him in recent months would have predicted, nor what General McChrystal reports, nor the others who have very frequent contact with him in Kabul. Again, the example of the Shura that was held in Kandahar is very significant. That's the next important milestone in setting the political conditions for the conduct of the military operations, recognizing that many of the security challenges in Kandahar are related to political or economic disputes, tensions, friction, and so forth. So that's a very significant step forward. Doesn't mean the Taliban's all going to turn around and bow in his direction by any means. They will continue their campaign, undoubtedly, of trying to intimidate, in some cases assassinate, and attack our soldiers and our Afghan partners. But this is very important in getting the people on the side of the government, knowing what is going to happen, understanding, and he also didn't hold out rosy futures. He said this will be difficult, we're going to need to fight the Taliban together, etc. At the end of the day, his success is our success. And so working, as I think, and very clearly following the President's guidance a couple months ago, whenever that was, that, you know, we indeed have to support the leader of the sovereign country that we're trying to help.
So you're still as confident in the partnership as you were when we last met?
Yes, yeah. Now, I mean, clearly there is an issue with the resignation of the Minister of Interior and the National, their intelligence service, the NDS. We know those individuals. We've all worked with them. They're all regarded, we all regard them as competent. But I think, again, before we start judging what that will do to those ministries, to the overall effort, we've got to see who the replacements are, judge their competence, their ethnicity, because, again, President Karzai very sensitive that they can't both be Pashto. And for what it's worth, the discussions that we're aware of, some of which Americans have participated in, as various candidates have been considered, indicate that the replacements will be competent individuals and individuals certainly that we have confidence in and can work with. Okay. Do you want to, Michelle?
If I could, Senator, you know, before you came in, we had President Karzai and 14 of his cabinet members here in May 1st. They left with a very clear sense of a longer-term U.S. commitment. We were talking about activities that will extend over the next 5 to 10 years in security assistance, in governance, in education, in economics, and the full range of a longer-term strategic relationship. And they left with no question, I think, about understanding that we see that as a vital interest for the United States.
And that goes to the question of the timeline, and I know that some of my other colleagues have already questioned you all about that. How many of the troops now are deployed of this surging effort?
Of the final 30,000 that will take us up to that 98,000 figure, and again, keeping in mind that we started in January 2009 with roughly 30 to 31,000. So this will be a more than tripling of the force on the ground. And the Secretary of Defense, as has been discussed in here, has some flexible flex factor as required too for emerging force protection needs and other critical requirements. We're about almost at the 21,000 of the additional 30,000 on the ground. This is actually slightly ahead of schedule in terms of personnel and in terms of equipment, which is somewhat remarkable given the Icelandic volcanic eruptions, the Haiti obviously emergency relief operation, and some other challenges, including the issues at the Manas Transit Center with fuel of a month or so ago. And yet it has all stayed on track. What we call Transportation Nation, the great Transportation Command led by General Duncan McNabb, the Logistics Nation led by a host of different individuals and so forth. They have performed miracles. And in fact, we're issuing equipment early to the brigade that is moving into the Kandahar area now.
When do you expect the full deployment to be accomplished?
All of the 30,000 required by the end of August will be on the ground by the end of August. There is one element at headquarters that is not required by that time, so we obviously won't put it in. It goes in about a month later, although we could get it in there, but it doesn't rotate until after that, although it is part of the 30,000.
And you expect that that amount of troops then fully deployed by August will be sufficient complement to what you need to accomplish the mission?
That's correct. In fact, General McChrystal has, in a letter to the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, stated that this will enable us to be what's required to carry out the strategy, again, recognizing that, as I said, if there are emergent needs, we will always ask for those. That's our obligation to our troopers. And, in fact, Secretary Gates has this flex factor that could enable him to satisfy some of that at his level.
And I would expect that as we come into the summer of 2011, if you also felt that you needed to keep that level of troops on the ground, that you would make that recommendation to the President.
In fact, that's correct, Senator. In fact, in the statement that I made up front, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of that, I stated that, we'll look at the conditions on the ground at that time. And I'm sure General McChrystal, Admiral Mullen, all the other military leaders involved will provide our most forthright and best professional military advice, and then at the end of the day also support the ultimate policy decision made by the President.
Thank you. Thank you again for your service. My time is up. I wanted to also talk to you about Iran and what their influence is currently in Afghanistan, so I will submit some questions for the record to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator LeMieux. I just got